What you doing, Diggletdreamers? You got Mathers back for another video, and it's time to recap the Vitality Draft League Season 1. So basically, this is like the new league run by Ariadon, aka the old head of the Delta Battle League, which I was a part of for many years. Now this is the Generation 8 reimagining of that, basically. So the first few weeks of the battle started while I was moving from Boston to LA, which is why I didn't really get the chance to record them and put them up. And then by the time I was actually in LA and had set up all my recording stuff, it was well into the season. So I decided to just wait till the end, and then just kind of cover it all. So yeah, this is the team. I did put out a draft video if you want to check that out. But this is the team: Grimmsnarl, Vileplume, Morpeko, Magneton, Mr. Rhyme, Cramorant, Surfetch'd, Centiskorch, Vullaby, Cinderace, and Seismitoad. So pretty sweet. I was a big fan of this team. I drafted 50% of all the Gen 8 Pokemon that were in the whole league total, which I thought was pretty awesome. I just wanted to use all the new Pokemon, basically, and I don't know why anyone else didn't, Anyway, I'm going to move on to the Week 1 matchup, which was, oh god, I don't remember. This is like, okay, so disclaimer, this battle was probably like at least 2 months ago for me, so I barely remember it. I'm going to go through all the battles. So there's 10 total battles for 11 weeks where I just had to sit 1 week. We're just going to go through all of them in this video. It'll be kind of a recap for me, honestly, in a lot of ways. But so this is the Week 1 battle against Yuwen. I'm pretty sure he dropped halfway through the season. I don't remember what his team was called. Anyway, so I'm bringing like repping the Gen 8 stuff right here. Grimmsnarl, Cramorant, Morpeko. I was particularly excited about these two because they're super goofy and super fun and I have a lot of fun using them competitively. So I was excited to bring these two. Anyway, let's just get into the battle. I'm gonna do it as I go. So Araquanid. Oh right. I remember I had a little conversation because we took longer than the first week to really get our battle going. But it was there had never been 3D Gen 8 sprites until this battle. This was the first battle that I actually saw the Gen 8's 3D sprites on Showdown, which was pretty cool. And we actually had to point that out. So he leads Araquanid. I just want to get up my rocks because I think his only... Oh, that was fine. Tornadus was his only defogger, so if I could get those up and he had to come in on rocks, as long as he wasn't boots or something, that'd be good. And I actually have... Vullaby is like ready to take on Bisharp, but unfortunately I get hit with a really strong hurricane, and there's not really much I want to switch into this thing, so unfortunately I had to let Vullaby go down. But it does let me come in with Morpeko, but of course he just goes right into Mudsdale. I should have known. I forget, I don't know. I may have been banded or something, as he gets his own rocks up, but I'm in with Seismitoad, so I can start to click and Scald. I get a burn immediately as he Toxics me. Damn. And the Bisharp comes in. I don't know why Bisharp would ever come in on this thing, because I'm just going to Scald it. I could, like, whoa, what else was I going to click there, But now Dragapult is in. Big scary thing, but I do have Grimmsnarl, one of the best checks to it. Obviously it's a stab, but he misses his Fire Blast, which was pretty scary. Just click Darkest Lariat, which fortunately does break through Mudsdale because Darkest Lariat doesn't matter about defense boosts. But he was at, he was like a point above. Yeah, I did 24, he was at 25, and I was like, I'm not risking it. So I go into Cramorant, I get Toxic, but I get my fish as he goes Dragapult. Hits me with the Shadow Ball, knocks me out, but I get him with the Gold Missile, so I'll take it. And I go back into Devil, because he's going for Shadow Ball, so I'm assuming that he's not. So he's probably choiced into that, and that's a pretty good position for me to be in, so I get his Araquanid with 2 KO. And now Scolipede is in. So I switch out into Seismitoad, kind of just sacking it, but also knowing that he's protecting or Swords Dancing or something. So, yeah, he just protects again. Knocks me out with a Poison Jab. But I can finally bring in Surfetched. Goes for the Swords Dance, which I learned later was a misclick. And I hit him with the Brave Bird, which is pretty big. And then Tornadus comes in very low after the rocks, plus the toxic damage is going to rack up. So I decided to go more Pico, go for the Protect, just to see what he wants to go for. He actually goes for a Tailwind, which was not good. Hits me with a Hurricane, but I live that pretty well. I get confused, but I break through and I get my speed boost. But now he's got Dragapult. I go for the Protect just to scout. I also want to get my Dark typing back. But it's here that it's revealed that he is Scarf. And Fire Blast can knock me out. And Pretty Devil, unfortunately, is not at a range where that's going to matter. Or no, he might have been Specs. Yeah, he was Specs Timid or something. It's because, yeah, like he's just that, like Dragapult is just that fast. Even at +1 with my Morpeko, I wasn't able to outspeed him. So that was week 1. Fun battle for sure. Came down to the wire. Week 2 was less so. So this was against Bronzor. I don't remember anybody's names. Anyway. So I go Scald. I want to get damage on the Gligar. But I know I can go Magneton on this thing as he goes this thing. Getting some good damage, but not really enough. And that's going to be kind of a continuous issue throughout this battle, is that I don't have enough damage. None of my Pokemon actually have any setup moves, which was probably not the best choice. But oh yeah, and he's got Quick Claw, but doesn't matter too much because Killer can't switch into these things, get a U-turn off. My Vileplume is actually very good versus him. He goes into this thing, I just go for a Leech Seed. So on this I had Leech Seed because I knew something like Moltres was going to want to switch in pretty frequently. I first gets Heavy Duty Boots there. It just U-turns back into a Lomomola. He gets some good damage there. I think this was Assault Vest Adamant, so it was pretty strong. And it does hit his team pretty hard, but it's just not quite as hard as I would like. Oh, I have Sludge Wave, I forgot. Sludge Bomb might have actually been better just to like fish for poison, but I think he does have Heal Bell as well. I had Cramorant with like especially defensive to try to take on the Moltres, but it doesn't really work as I get my Pikachu and I roost up, and what does he do? He just wishes. So of course he's not going to touch me. I'll get off a Hurricane and Confusion and hits himself, but the wish is going to heal him back a lot. Miss a Hurricane, but of course he has no interest in touching me and getting the damage, so he's just going to Toxic me. Yeah. So I'm just cooking Hurricane, trying to get some damage, but it's not working out, so I decided to switch out, save my Cramorant for later. I don't want him to just go down to toxic damage. Get the Aromatherapy off, actually, to heal up Cramorant from the toxic, which worked out. I still have Seismitoad at full health, which is good. But I know he wants to go into his Magic Bouncer on my Stealth Rocks, and he's probably packing the Giga Drain, as he actually makes a good play there, predicting my Magneton with the Mystical Fire. And then gets the Quick Claw activating to knock out my thing, which I would have done a heck of a lot of damage with Flash Cannon had that not happened. But anyway, on to the next thing. I get a Sludge Wave off on this thing, but it's not really doing too much. I decided to go for the Leech Seed, figuring it would be good versus this, since the Hakamo can't really touch Vileplume. And then if the Moltres wanted to come in too, but then he gets paralyzed by the Effect Spore as well. But I believe here he reveals the Heal Bell, yeah. So I was like, huge stuff. Because it was a pretty big deal to get this thing paralyzed. It was probably one of his biggest offensive threats outside of like Hatterene. But I get Devil in here with the Leech Seed to get a little more back. Get a critical hit, which is pretty big, but the Wish saves him. And I'm not quite doing enough to really 2-hit KO this thing, especially since it has leftovers. So this is going to be a long one, guys. It's going to be a long one. It goes to hack Mo, and I decided to switch out. Was I banded? I might have been banded, not Assault Vest. I Toxic to my Cramorant. I just go for the Icy Wind. I don't know why I had Icy Wind. In theory, it slowed down the Moltres, but I guess if you pull the switch into Moltres, I don't know why you would pull the switch into Moltres on Cramorant. I don't know. So I decided to go Killer. Getting my boots knocked off, unfortunately. Goes for the Protect. I just U-turn. And he goes a little Mola. I decided to just go for a thing, but I miss a Powerball. It doesn't really matter. I wouldn't have done much to a Mola anyway. And I can still U-turn pretty freely as I outspeed everything on his team. Vileplume comes in on the Scald, no problem. Come in on the Mola pretty much endlessly as I just go for the Leech Seed, knowing that he's going to switch. And I go into Seismitoad. Yeah, this is a long one. He just U-turns out. I think, do I get my Stealth Rock up here? No, because I know he's still got this Magic Bouncer. And I just click Earth Power. I should have been clicking Scald and fishing for burns or something, but I'd make a nice play into there to catch the Psychic. Go for Darkest Layer, but it's still not doing enough to this Alomomola. If I just had Bulk Up on this, I get a crit again though. Ooh, but he's got Protect, so... but if I just had Bulk Up on this, and if I just clicked Bulk Up a few times when he clicked Protect or something, then it really could have been an entirely different game. If I had like +1, like with a Fairy move and a Dark move, like whew, I don't know, like Sucker Punch for the Moltres, it would have been pretty nice. Anyway, coming in with Seismitoad, getting a little Leech Seed recovery. It goes Hatterene once again, and I go for the Skull, and I get the burn. But of course he does have Heal Bell, so it's not, I mean obviously it matters that I get a little more damage, but he's gonna kick a train and heal up a little bit there. But Moltres comes in on my U-turn, so I get to finally get Cramorant in, but he just U-turns of course because Moltres is faster, and he gets his Audino in. I haven't actually said the name Audino yet, but Audino comes in and of course can get Wish up, Heal Bell, fix up the Hatterene and whatnot. So again, I'm forced to switch my Cramorant out because I don't want it to die to Toxic, even though I had a Pikachu. Again, if I just had Bulk Up right now, it would be huge. But I decided to I know he's gonna switch into Alomomola, so I decided to go Vileplume in the Moltres, and I get the Leech Seed off, and I'm like, okay, I gotta make some plays. So I know he's gonna Roost or U-turn or something, so I Sludge Wave, get some good damage, combine with the Leech Seed, and then he U-turns again, so I stay in again and click Sludge Wave, but it doesn't do much, even though it gets the poison on the Audino. But he's got the Heal Bell, and this thing still burns, so of course he's getting mad. Yeah, there's the Heal Bell, there's the Wish. So even though I'm making these plays, it doesn't really make a difference. As I reveal that, I'm getting frustrated because I'm like, nothing on my team is able to break through his team, and it's frustrating. You know, I'm a much more offensive. I like offensive play style, which is why I don't like I don't like games going to turn 66. You know, I got other things to do with my life. As he actually switches in Alomomola there. I don't know, I'm like barely even commentating anymore. But I'm just staying in with Vileplume because he's just not knocking me out. But I know there he's probably going to attack, but he doesn't. But I get my Leech Seed up, and leftovers Leech Seed helps heal up my Seismitoad a lot. So Alomomola comes out, I just Scald again. No burn. So Hatterene comes back. I'm not going to... Oh, I did do that time. So he gets the Magic Bounce Toxic back onto me. But I still have my own aromatherapy as well as a backup. My Grimmsnarl is getting low. Go for the play rough. It still doesn't do enough to 2 KO the Alomomola. So I decided to go this as he goes this, and he does air slash me that time, but I am able to get my aromatherapy off, heal up my Seismitoad, and then he knocks me out. I thought maybe he would stay in, he would not attack there again, but he did, and that was probably the end of the game for me, because the only way that I was really breaking through this guy's team, unless I get a Hurricane Confusion, was if Vileplume can like somehow get the Alomomola, but like he can just go into like his plethora of other Pokemon. So it's just a long trip to the end of the game now. I'm trying to do things with Cramorant, but I'm just missing all my Hurricanes, and then I go down to Toxic, and I think if he just protects here, which leftovers brings him out of range of my next move, and of course he can even just switch out, get Regenerator, but Moltres is faster, so I gotta switch, and in comes Seismitoad, and then I double back in, hoping that he does, but he U-turns, obviously, why wouldn't he, into Gligar. I don't want my Grimmsnarl to go down, so I go to Seismitoad, which I think is unfortunately 2-hit KO'd, yeah. So it's just, yeah, Killer goes down, and Devil is gone too. And that's unfortunately not a great week 2 for the Boston Buizels. Yeah. So week 3, I'm against Ariadon, the commissioner, and I brought similar team. I decided to bring more Pico and Mr. Rhyme this time, as he's got the Dracovish, he's got Metagross. I knew if I'm pretty sure I had like Adamant Bandit or something, so that Morpeko would be able to knock out Metagross. But anyway, let's just get into it. That last one was a long one, so lead Vileplume, not a great lead. Grimmsnarl comes in. I think this might have been Assault Vest Grimmsnarl, as he's sub-Cryogonal, which is not great. As he's Reflect. Ooh. Yeah, this is bringing back stuff for me too. But I am bulk up this time. I learned my lesson, but I know this is not a great position. But I have Thunder Wave, so I get him, and I get the full para, and I get the Sucker Punch off, which is pretty big. But he fortunately does not knock me out with the Meteor Mash with the defense boost. But he goes into his Ditto, which is pretty scary for me, as I decided to pull a hard switch into Morpeko, trying to get the speed boost with Aura Wheel. But obviously not a great position for me to be in, so I go Vileplume instead, as he actually switches back into this thing, and I decide to just go Grimmsnarl, as he gets Stealth Rock up, and he goes back into Ditto, and I just click Spirit Break, knowing that he would do this or something. So I'm actually able to take out his Ditto, which is pretty sweet. But his Corpse Grinder, his Ribombee knocks out my Grimmsnarl, and I go Vileplume, and I get the Strength Sap off, which actually doesn't affect him because of the Clear Body, but I still get back up to full, which is not bad. And I just pull a switch into Surfetched, hard switch, because I think I got First Impression on this thing, but I have Substitute on mine. Maybe I don't have First Impression. But I go for the Swords Dance, which I don't know is the best play because Freeze Dry is definitely doing over 25. Yeah. But I do have a Berry. I got a Berry. I didn't want the close combat because I didn't want my defenses to drop, but I'm in range of another Freeze Dry. I don't know what I was thinking in that moment. So I go Mr. Rhyme, and I go for the Dazzling Gleam. Was I just trying to catch the Hariyama or the fish or something? I don't know. Ribombee U-turns on my Vileplume. Oh, the Sweet Veil protects him from the effect spore. I didn't even notice that. It goes into this, obviously, and gets a Substitute off. And I know he's got Substitute, so I need to click my move to try to break his Substitute. Unfortunately there, I think he realizes that and tries to knock me out, so I go Mr. Rhyme. Mr. Rhyme can live another Freeze Dry, but I can't really do much back to this thing, unfortunately. Cryogonal actually has very good special defense. So unfortunately, Rhyme goes down. So I go Morpeko. I'm like, okay, it's the only thing that can definitely knock this out. I get my Aura Wheel off, takes out the Metagross, so I get my speed boost. But he's got Dracovish, he's got Hariyama. These are all things that don't really care about Morpeko. I decided to just go for it. It doesn't even do half, and he goes for the Brick Break and knocks me out. So Vileplume comes in. He basically just wins with Cryogonal at this point, as the Ice Punch is going to freeze my Vileplume and put him to sleep at the same time, though. Hey. That's pretty funny. So I decided to switch out, go to Seismitoad, try to take advantage of this and get my Stealth Rock up. Maybe I should have just tried to knock him out because he wakes up here and gets some knockoff off of me, some damage, plus no more leftovers. And the Scald does not knock him out. I should have Earthquaked, but I was fearing the Cryogonal with the Levitate to come in or something like that. But now it is here, and I decided to just sag Vileplume. There's no point. Freeze Dry knocks out Vileplume, knocks out Seismitoad at any range, so yeah. So the Dracovish did not even see the field. But good game. Week 4 up against Jose, decided to bring some crazy stuff because he had Talonflame, which was a big problem for my team. I have Magneton, obviously resists the flying move, but that's about it. So I decided to bring something nuts. I hadn't brought Sendascorch to a battle yet, and I really wanted to, so I brought him Banded with Rollout. It was the only rock type move that this thing gets. So I was like, if I'm in versus Talonflame, I'm staying in, I'm clicking Rollout, because if he roosts or something on the turn that I roll out, I don't know if the first rollout would do enough damage, but if it would at least pressure him to knock me out with Brave Bird, which would then, of course, if I was able to hit him with the first one or not, it would still do a lot of recoil damage to him, which would at least help me keep this thing from being too big a threat. And that was kind of the idea going into this battle, which is absolutely nuts. But I also got a lot of flack. And look at that banded knockoff. That's a lot. I got a lot of flack for drafting 2 fire types, Cinderace and Sendascorch. So I was like, I gotta prove that these Pokemon are awesome and that you can win a game with 2 fire types. I forget that this thing gets Power Whip, so it just claims my Seismitoad immediately. But Cinderace is pretty good versus his team, can just come in and click U-turn, and later on I can definitely click Pyro Ball. Or Pico now, as he actually switches out and tries to get the Justified boost, which works out for him. But I get my speed boost, so... Oh, dang, I thought I had Parting Shot. That would have been way better. But I just go for the Brick Break. It does nothing because it's Brick Break and it's more Pico. But he actually just Volt Switches out, expecting me to switch, I'm guessing. And I get a big Dark-type Aura Wheel off on this thing as he Focus Blasts me into the next dimension. But Cinderace can obviously come in. Doesn't quite knock him out with the U-turn, unfortunately, as he gets the Recover off. But Magneton is here. Magneton is now. And clicks Volt Switch and doesn't knock him out. So this thing is just staying alive as he clicks a Focus Blast and does a lot to Grimmsnarl, but definitely a Grimmsnarl's gonna knock this thing out. Like, I know Reuniclus is bulky, but not that bulky. So now Tentacruel's come out, definitely wants to Rapid Spin, and I know that, so I'm gonna stay in and just try to knock him out, which unfortunately the Stomping Tantrum is not quite enough. Maybe I should have just gone for the stab move. But he goes for the Sludge Bomb, and I predict that again, my Steel type, my Magneton, as he gets a Toxic Spike off, and I'm able to knock him out. And then I can go Cinderace, as I'm actually packing the Court Change, which is pretty good for me, so I'm able to swap this Toxic Spike over to his side. As the Brave Bird does only a little bit over half to my Cinderace, and I get a U-turn off, go to my Magneton, and I know he doesn't want to click Flare Blitz there, so I'm pretty safe to just click Volt Switch and then get Cinderace back in, and I can start clicking moves. So I'm able to click Pyro Ball there, knock out his Gourgeist, and then comes the Talonflame. I just get Sucker Punch for some damage as he does Flare Blitz. I think he would want to Roost here, yeah. So what do? I just U-turn out, yeah. So I bring my Magneton back in. The only way he knocks me out is if he Flare Blitzes, and that's a lot of recoil for him, which he doesn't want. So I Volt Switch again. Back in my Cinderace, which is a big threat for this thing. I can U-turn, obviously. I just go Grimmsnarl, and he just clicks Roost. But here he does have the Flash Cannon, which unfortunately knocks out my Grimmsnarl. But U-turn, he's in U-turn range. So U-turn as he goes Talonflame. And now my Magneton is back. As he goes into this, and I just Volt Switch, which knocks him out. The analytic is pretty sweet. So I go Scorch as he goes Talonflame. He knocks me out. Unfortunately, Scorch doesn't really get to do anything, but that puts me in the right position that I want to be in. As he Flare Blitzes, doesn't knock me out, and I'm able to Volt Switch and knock out the Talonflame. And now it's down to Cinderace in this thing, which is in range of a U-turn. No, it's not. It lives on 2%, as he actually gets a Roost off. My Magneton is very strong, though. He roosts again, and I'm doing 60% with Flash Cannon, so that basically... like, he could try to roost, but I'm doing way too much for him to keep roosting, so he's got to knock me out, which unfortunately puts him in range of the next U-turn. And the Boston Buizels get their first win of the season, which is pretty big. I was pretty happy about it. The Scorch, Cinderace core able to pull off the W. So that was week 4, and then on to week 5. Versus Mopman. Again, I brought Scorch, Cinderace core, but I brought Surfetch. I remember Surfetch looking really good here because he's got Greninja, you know, and Mesprit, Tangela, which are all weak to the first impression. So I'm pretty sure I brought like Banded first impression. Anyway, let's just hop right into it. So of course I lead Surfetched as he pulls a switch into Scizor, which does a pretty good chunk, honestly, for a resisted move, non-stab. And a big knockoff comes out of my Seismic Toad, which is pretty big, but I know he's going to go into this grass type or something, so I just fish for a burn. And I know Scorch can come in. I'm actually Rest Talk Scorch in this one, which actually works out pretty well for me as I get the Sleep Talk. And if only I didn't have a bug type move, but anyway, I hit him, which is the important part. And I'm especially defensive, so I'm easily able to take this, but unfortunately I happen to wake up there and it doesn't work out for me. Anyway, goes into his Altaria as I go back to sleep and heal up. So I switch into Mr. Rhyme as he just goes for Hyper Voice, which crits and does a lot. Would have done enough anyway, but I'm Scarf, so I'm able to get a lot of damage off on this thing. Almost knock it out, but not quite as Rhyme goes down. But Cinderace can come in. I just go for the Pyro Ball, which doesn't really do much to this thing, but gets a lucky burn, 10% chance, Pyro Ball. So I just U-turn out there. I don't want to take an Earthquake. So I go Cramorant, knowing that I can dodge the Earthquake as well as go for a Surf and get my fish. As he just Ice Shards me, and I knock him out and get my fish. But people are aware. No, not yet. This is too early. People go for Stealth Rock. People are too aware of Cramorant and its gimmicks. So it goes for the Zen Headbutt, gets hit by it, and gets the defense drop. I get my, Pitaya Berry, so I get my special attack boost. I get another Surf off, get my Pikachu as he decides to knock me out, and I bring him down to 7% and paralyze him. So I think I could have done a little bit better with Cramorant there. Like, I don't think this thing wasn't really much of a threat, but I get my Core Change off, which is good. And then I can, of course, knock him out. So his Rock Setter is gone, and I've got the rocks on his side now. So I decided to go Scorch as he goes into his Mega Altaria. I know I can take this thing on because moves that this thing runs are like Dragon. Since I knew it was Hyper Voice, I knew I was in a good position since I was specially defensive. As I can easily take that as it's resisted and a max special defense. So obviously I can't really do much back to him, which is the sad part. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit as I just kind of Fire Lash, rest him out as much as I can as he pulls the switch into his Tangela, hoping I don't pull a Fire Lash, but I do, but it doesn't really do much because I don't have much attack investment. So it's just kind of like trying to stall each other out a little bit, which isn't that fun, but it's cool to see Scorch actually doing something. So I got the knockoff there, get rid of the Eviolite, which is pretty cool. As I just rest up, he's not really doing much to me as I pull a Fire Lash through my sleep. But he has Synthesis, so yeah. Goes back in Altaria, you know. It just keeps happening. Reveals the hidden power, which does a little bit more than it. No, it's doing like the same amount as Hyper Voice, but that means he has a lot of power points, a lot of PP for hidden power. But I realized that when I'm resting and sleep talking, it doesn't count towards the moves. And actually, I think, yeah, but it does count towards sleep talk. So at this point, I just started just resting normally, just to save my power points. Don't know if it would have eventually worked out, but he just keeps. I get a bunch of defense drops, and he starts, and then he just has to switch out until those defense drops, reset those defense drops. Misses a Draco. And then, goes back. I get a knockoff. He gets a roost. I just start fire lashing again. And he gets another Draco, and I'm feeling pretty low, but the crit right there. So that was big because he only did 43 with the first one, and then he was at half. So he probably would not have done 30 if not for the crit, which have kind of ended the game there for me. So I go Surfetched. I do have the Poison Jab, but of course he pulled the switch into Scizor, so it's all good. And I go Seismitoad to check the Bullet Punch. Goes into his thing as I just go for the Toxic, this thing. It's basically the best option I have versus the Tangela. And I don't want to switch, so I just have to stay in and Scald. Because I don't want to switch in either of these Pokemon and make them take damage, because they're definitely way more important for the later game. Like, I need Cinderace to be able to take on the Scizor. I need First Impression to get like the Greninja and stuff like that. So I go Cinderace here. U-turn, knock out the Tangela. Back into Surfetched. This thing comes out, and I go for the Poison Jab, and I outspeed, so I take him out. Go Scizor, and here I go Cinderace. Bullet Punch does a lot. So I just go for the Sucker Punch. It knocks me out. And yeah, so not looking good for me, as I just go for the Close Combat, which does knock out the Scizor, but obviously I needed the First Impression to take out the Greninja. So I don't know if there was a way for me to win this, unless, like, I don't know. I don't think there was a way. Unless Close Combat would have maybe knocked out the Altaria, other than Poison Jab, and then I could have been able to stay in and knock out the Scizor, stay alive maybe, and then sack Cinderace to the Greninja, and then come in with Surfetched and freshly click First Impression and knock out the Greninja. I think that might have been the only way. Yeah. Oh, I just remembered. So we want to do there was it would be 5 or 6 or something that I took a that was my bye week where I didn't have to battle. I think it was actually right before this battle. Anyway, so this was week 6. This is week 7. Yeah, okay, so this is week 7 versus Phantom Base. He's got a pretty threatening team. I don't have much for that Garchomp or the Celesteela. Well, I do have this for the Celesteela, but it's got like Flamethrower and stuff. You know, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. I lead Surfetched, he leads Aerodactyl, and it's Mega Aerodactyl, and I immediately get obliterated, which I wasn't expecting. So I go into this, and he goes Hard Garchomp, as I just go for the electric move, and it doesn't work, which is not good. I think I was choiced or something. No, okay. Go for the Parting Shot, but he goes for a Substitute, which is really bad. So I don't have much. I do not have much. And he goes for the Swords Dance. So he's +1 behind a sub. I go for a Bulk Up. I'm like, maybe I can, if with defense boosters, maybe I can take this thing on. But he goes for another Swords Dance behind his sub, and then goes for a Z move, which just blows me away. And it's like, well, I don't have anything else. The only thing I have that outspeeds his Garchomp is my Cinderace, which doesn't have a move to hit him. So he just goes for another sub there as I try to Strength Sap, and that fails. And basically he would just click Earthquake 3 more times, and that was the end of the game. So not a great one. Not a great one. Then the next week, my rematch versus Bronzor. Finley, that's his name, Finley. Yeah, week 8. So he's bringing the Melmetal this time, which was a big change. I think he dropped Hakamo'o and switched it for something else. But basically the same team other than that. But I was ready this time. I was like, no, I'm not gonna let this happen again. I'm bringing some attack boosting Pokemon this time. So I lead Seismitoad. I just want to get my rocks up, but I know he's got Magic Bounce, so I Scald. No burn. But I know Centiskorch can take this thing on. Obviously, taking on the Dazzling Gleam even better. So I go for the knockoff because I know I want to knock something off. I get the boots off on Moltres, which is huge. I knew Moltres would be a pretty big switch into Centiskorch, but I get the boots off, which means if I'm able to get my rocks up later, that'd be pretty big. And Seismitoad is here to take on the Melmetal, which it does. And I'm not going for the rocks yet. I'm still clicking Scald. I'm not going to click rocks until I know that this thing is not coming in. And I get the burn right there, which is nice. So I go Centiskorch again, knowing that I can take this thing on. And I think I just go for a Fire Lash here because I already knocked off the Moltres. It doesn't make that big a deal. At least I get the defense drop. And yeah, I go for the knockoff, which does a little bit with the defense drop, but not much. He goes for the U-turn on my Morpeko switch, which is pretty big. I thought he might Hurricane or Air Slash. He switches into Melmetal as I go for the Ice Fang, and it doesn't do much. But I switch into Seismitoad, no problem. Earthquake is not doing much. Yeah, Melmetal does not have much for Seismitoad. So I go for the Scald again, knowing that his Hattering's still there. And I get another burn on Audino. But he probably has a Heal Bell, as he did last time. But it goes for a Wish there. And goes back into Hatterene now. I'm just continuing to click Scald as he passes a Wish. And now I go back into Centiskorch, no problem. And I'm at 50%, so I might be thinking about resting here. But I just go for another Fire Lash as the Moltres is at 58. I'm going to pull a switch into Grimmsnarl as he roosts. And I just get the Thunder Wave off, which is pretty nice. As we saw in the last battle, getting a Thunder Wave off is pretty nice, versus getting his Moltres paralyzed is really nice for my team. And I know he's not clicking the Steel move because I know he's seen my Seismitoad come in a bunch of times, so I get up my screens. As he says, Earthquake, Ice Punch, didn't click the Steel move, but so I get my double screens up, which is pretty sweet for me. And I decided to go in the Surf Edge because I know this thing is, if it has a move to attack me with, it's not going to be very offensive. It's not going to be very strong, but he does get the Heal Bell off as I get my Surf Edged in, and I know I'm in a good position. So I go for the Substitute because I decided I'm not messing around this time. I'm bringing the strong setup Substitute. So I go for the knockoff. Get rid of the Eviolite as my Substitute lives this because of the screens. And I got my Swords Dance off, but the Reflect is gone, but still not doing enough to really threaten me. Can break my sub, which I probably shouldn't have gone for that, but anyway. Go for the Close Combat, which doesn't quite do enough. It does a lot, but not enough. And I don't want, with my defense lowered, I don't want this thing knocking me out with an Earthquake. So he does Roost there, which would have been great if I had clicked Close Combat again. But I Sludge Bomb. I brought Sludge Bomb this time for the chance to poison, and I knew I could live in Air Slash, and I brought the Hidden Power Rock. So I knock out the Moltres. Vileplume takes down the Moltres, which is huge. Vileplume's Vengeance, I called it. And so I like, Hatterene comes in, I was like, I don't care, I'm Sludge Bombing. And then he knocks me out my Vileplume, but Vileplume has done what it needed to do. And I know he's going to switch out, so I click Parting Shot, I get my Surf Edge back in, and I'm just going to start clicking buttons. Close Combat doesn't really do enough for the Gligar, unfortunately. But, so I still need to worry about the Gligar. But he clicks Roost there as I click it again, and with a flying type gone, it does a lot more damage. But now I am at half, so I definitely got to switch out. But he decides to stay. He decides to, not Roost and attack. So he switches out there as I continue to Scald this Hatterene, get the burn again, and yeah, now things are looking good. Things are looking good for the Buizels at the moment. Yellow Momola makes his first appearance, and I miss a Toxic, unfortunately, and we both miss a Toxic, so kind of evens out a little bit there. I decided to just Scald there, maybe trying to catch the Hatterene coming in one more time as he Toxics me again. Goes for the Protect as I just Refresh, which is a big reveal since I know it's huge. Like, I can't be Toxicked. pretty big against his team, which would probably rely mostly on toxicking this thing to take it out now. Does have the knockoff. Obviously the Hatterene has Giga Drain to knock this out, but it's at 5% and burned, so it's not in a good position. The Audino, I know my Surfetch can come in on that Audino now. Substitute, and he's got Wish Heal Bell knockoff, and I forget what the last one is, but he goes Hatterene, dies to the burn as I Swords Dance. Oh, and something about a misclick, he said. So I knock off the Alomomola, knock his leftovers, and I live. The Skull actually EV'd my Surfetch to live Scald from this thing, which is pretty big. And I think, yeah, Surfetch just clicked Close Combat and got 4 KOs here. So, yeah. So it felt good to get that win after being 6-0'd so brutally week 2 to then come back. No, I know I had the tools, I just needed to use them, and I did, and it was great. Okay, and then versus Eric, aka Zero Ink Games, week 9. He's got a very scary team. He's got Landorus, he's got Ferrothorn, he's got Keldeo, he's got Latios, and Mega Pidgeot. I don't know how this guy got so many top tier Pokemon on his team. It's pretty crazy. But I'm bringing fun stuff. I got Cramorant back, Mr. Rhyme is back, trying to do something. Probably one of the only Pokemon on my team that hasn't really done much. I guess Volibee hasn't really either. But anyway. Leads Ferrothorn. As I lead this, I taunt, as I purposely brought taunt so I could stop this thing from doing its usual stuff. Knock off this as it comes out, get rid of the Assault Vest. Volt switches. I know I could take a Volt switch, so I decided to U-turn because I am slower. So I get a U-turn off, I can go into Cinderace and scare this thing out as the Landorus comes in. So I go for the Power Ball, which actually does pretty good amount of damage, even though, especially considering that I am -1 attack. I go back into this, but I don't really have a switch in, so unfortunately it has to go down once again. But I can go Magneton, I trap this thing, and he is Aqua Berry, so he lives it. Goes for the Body Press, which doesn't knock me out, so he doesn't get his Stealth Rock up or anything, and I'm able to get the Hidden Power to knock him out. And now I'm back. I think I'm Specs, so I decided to just click a move, get some damage off on this threat, and he knocks me out with the Flamethrower. Landorus comes back as I just go for the U-turn that time. I think if I had gone for a Pyro Ball, it would have been better, but I guess I had to go Cramorant, as I'm a faster, and I take him out, I get my fish, he goes this, I endure, so I live the Volt Switch, and I get obviously I get the Gulp Missile off, I get my Bataya Berry, and then this thing unfortunately does outspeed, so I decided to switch and try to save it, as Hurricane does a lot to this guy. But again, I am Scarf. If I had actually been Ice Beam there, it would have been so big. I think I had Freeze Dry for the Keldeo, because I kind of needed that. If I was a Scarf set, so I didn't want Keldeo just come in for free. If I was Ice Beam, I probably would have knocked out this Mega Pidgeot, which would have been pretty sweet. But I get a U-turn. Obviously, Killer comes out. Oh, I think, yeah. So Pidgeot hits 375, and I only hit 370. So I think he was like modest or something, or not modest. Yeah, modest. Or not enough speed essentially for my Cinderace. So I was able to click him with the U-turn. For some reason, during the game, I thought that Cinderace was just naturally outspeed this thing, but no. So this comes back out, clicks the Acid Spray, and I just knock him out. So now he's down to 2, but I don't like that position, so I decided to let Cramorant go down, but unfortunately he reveals that he has Swords Dance, which is basically curtains for me, because he's Swords Dance Aqua Jet. I missed my Thunder Wave, which doesn't really matter as he goes for a close combat, and my Cinderace is not going to live a +2 Aqua Jet. So unfortunately, that's the game for me. Well played by Eric, for sure. Like, I thought with Grimmsnarl, if he was just regular set, I think Grimmsnarl would have been in a pretty good spot. Grimmsnarl Cinderace would have been in a pretty good spot. Anyway, week 10 against Jose again. Now this, I have to say this is one of the weirdest games of all time that I've ever participated in. So I was, at this point I knew that I was not making it into playoffs with my record so far. So I was like, I'm just gonna have fun with it. which is why I brought Power Herb Dive Cramorant, which should get a fish, but didn't for some reason. I don't know why. There was some kind of glitch with something, and I didn't get a fish. I don't know. It would have done, the Tentacruel would have been at like 25%, 26%, 27%, had I actually gotten my fish, which, you know, is kind of important in some ways. Anyway, Stunfisk is, oh god, sorry. Sorry, I'm just so mad. I know my Vileplume's gonna kind of take on the Stunfisk. So yeah, like, I brought Sunny Day Growth. But I definitely would have been able to knock out his Tentacruel here had I gotten my fish, which is unfortunate for my Vileplume. But I'm back. I'm going to try to do it. No, he's not doing it. So I go for the Brave Bird on this. Doesn't do much, obviously. It resists. And I think here I do go for my dive. Because I know the sun is going to end. So he actually goes for the Earth Power too, which is weird. But he goes into Gourgeist, and I still don't get my fish, which is very unfortunate for me. I try to click Brave Bird, but he's faster and knocks me out. So not looking good for me. My team has not worked out how it's supposed to. But Killer comes in with the boots. I go for the Sunny Day. So it was Sunny Day support for my Vileplume. But it also makes the Pyro Balls very strong. So he goes into this here, and I just U-turn out. Go into Surf Fetch. I know I can just take this thing out with a First Impression. I am Life Orb Swords Dance, I think. Surf Fetch, maybe. But in comes the Talonflame. Once again, big threat. But I got this thing to take a Brave Bird. And he switches into Stunfisk. As I go for the Teleport. Alright, I forgot I brought Teleport. So I bring Surf Edge comes back in. I just go for the Close Combat, which almost knocks him out. Not quite. And then the Earth Power doesn't quite knock me out, which means I can click it again. But I don't. I go into Devil, my Grimmsnarl, as I know he's going to go into this. Well, Scrappy obviously could have hit this still, but I don't know. Went into this, and I just clicked Darkest Lariat, which does over half, even with the burn, which is pretty, you know, Grimmsnarl is a strong Pokemon. Goes into Talonflame, as I just decided to bulk up. I go for the Thunder Wave, just, you know, great to Thunder Wave this thing. Brave Bird is not doing too much, because I am at +1 defense. Brave Birds me again, and I click Darkest Lariat and get a critical hit, which is pretty big. Clicks Overheat, which doesn't quite knock me out. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered depending on the roll. I don't know. But I forget the prankster immunity thing here, so unfortunately my Grimmsnarl goes down. But I'm in here again with Magneton as he tries to roost, and a misclick, right? Yeah, that makes sense. But he flinches me. Dark Pulse, I live, and I'm able to take him out with the Flash Cannon. So Gourgeist comes back in as he synthesizes up, and I just Flash Cannon. It does a heck of a lot. Misses his Rock Slide, and I knock him out pretty big. But like I would die to rocks if I switched, so there was really no point. And then Thunderbolt knocks out Reuniclus, and Flash Cannon does not quite knock out the Stunfisk, and he's able to take me out. And I go Cinderace and knock him out. So once again, weird things triumphing over Jose. I don't know. I think I've played Jose a lot in past leagues, and sometimes I think I just have a better read on how he plays games sometimes. And I think that comes into play a lot. And I don't know, that, like, not saying anything. This game had a lot of weird stuff going on, a lot of weird hacks. Obviously my fish didn't show up when I dived. I don't know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with this one. And then week 11, final battle versus Mopman. Rematch with my Centiskorch versus Altaria again, but I'm even more in fun mode at this point. I decided to bring as many Gen 8 Pokemon as I could. I decided to bring Mr. Rime over Grimmsnarl because Grimmsnarl had come to a few battles. Mr. Rime needed his last chance to try to do something, in this season. So I don't like that lead. I decided to go hard Mr. Rhyme. Because I know Mr. Rhyme's got some good special defense. I'm leftovers this time, not Scarf. I decided to go for the rapid spin, even though there's no hazards, just to get the speed boost, because that's all I need. Go for the ice beam and get the freeze. So Mr. Rhyme means business. I wish I had nasty plot. It would have been big. But I decided to just keep going for the ice beam as he stays frozen. I keep going for it. It stays frozen. Because I was going into this game, I was like, Mr. Rhyme's trash. He's not useful at all. And then I freeze the Scizor. So Mr. Rhyme is really in business, and I've got the hidden power fire for the Scizor, so it works out pretty well for me. But then I get blown away by Shadow Ball. I don't know if this was specs or something, but I mean, Mismagius is strong. I go more Pico, go for the Aura Wheel, which does 50% to this thing, which is pretty wild. I get my speed boost as he doubles out into Mesprit. I decided to just Parting Shot because I knew my Dark type Aura Wheel is not going to knock out the Beware, which it would have been great if I had just been able to just knock him out. And a critical hit Surf still doesn't knock him out, so I get my Fish, and Altaria comes in, and I realize in this moment that Altaria is probably going to wall this thing. So I decided to go Cinderace, as I actually had the Gunk Shot on this Cinderace, but he Dragon Dances, realizing that the physical set is a lot better versus my team than the special set, as is revealed as he just clicks Outrage and blows my whole team away. So not a great way to end the season, but I had fun and got a few cool wins and used Pokemon that I wanted to use, which is, the most important part. He actually hits himself in confusion, and I missed my Ice Fang. Don't know if it would have actually knocked him out, but I was upset. And then that next Outrage obviously knocked me out, so damn. That's the end of the VDL Season 1 for the Boston Buizels, and gonna be looking forward to new things, new stuff. There's the GLA, which is a season. It's like a bunch of different leagues all come together and fight other leagues as a team, which has been pretty fun. So I'll definitely put out a video about that soon. I decided to join a CAP league, create a Pokemon league, so I'll do something. I'll put a video out about that soon. Yeah, hopefully VDL Season 2, probably sometime this year, so look forward to it. See you guys in the next one. Peace out. Keep dreaming. Oh wait, I can do this. Cool new end screen. Yeah, peace out. Keep dreaming, guys.